You see what Newcastle did to Aston Villa?
Oh my God, bro! Aston Villa got knocked around. Bro, they side to side, up and down, body slam. Oh my God,
it was a wrestling
bro.
match. It was a fucking WWE match.
Yeah,
man.
and they got embarrassed.
Your opinion doesn't change? Too early?
I said in that prediction video that if I hope I'm wrong about Newcastle.
You did.
I mean that.
Yeah, you weren't like saying they were going to be bad. You said you were anxious. Yeah, a little anxiety.
Super anxious about Newcastle.
Make you
man.
anxious. But does this not alleviate some of that, man?
It definitely does, man. If anything, it just gets me incredibly excited because my biggest qualms was, can they do both? Champions League and Premier League. They play like this, bro. If they play like they did on Saturday, it's over.
Yeah, dude.
Like they could basically be the next Arsenal and go for the title. I'm not saying they win it.
Right.
And I'm not saying they win it, but I think they could go for the title race, and we have a 3-horse race between Arsenal, City, and I think definitively Newcastle. But they just have to keep playing that way.
They have to ascend. They have to ascend into a higher echelon, I think. But they are capable of it, and this result does show that they can. I think I do have to take back what I said about them essentially crashing out in Champions League, but doing really well in the Prem. I think this team is so deep, dude. It's so deep. The fact that they started Anthony Gordon, who had an amazing game, by the way.
No, after seeing his performance, I was like, oh, okay, St. Maximin, maybe they didn't need him. Like they knew that Gordon was going to be this good because, dude, he completely ran rampant on his wing, bro.
Yes, and then after like 70 minutes, sub in Harvey Barnes, fills in that wing position, gets a goal as well. Yeah, the presence of St. Maximin was barely even felt. Insultingly, man, because that man was huge for Newcastle in their dark days. Yeah. But here they are thriving. And I mean, the headline for me is just the fact the performance of the debutants. Tone Tonali, my boy Sandro Tonali. Yeah. What an addition, bro. The love that these Newcastle fans have for him and that first goal that he got to start off the game, it's a beautiful thing to see, man. It's a movie-like moment where you sign a player, you pay that big fee, the hype is set, and then he delivers within 20 minutes to give you an exciting lead. And then to see that passion that he has for the team, for the club, and the fans reciprocating that, it's amazing, man. It's one of my favorite things about football. When you sign a player, he debuts, and he scores on his debut, bro. And the same can be said for Diaby, who was Aston Villa's biggest offensive output, man. He was incredible too, scoring a goal as well too. Really cool to see him set his print on the match that early on into his Aston Villa career.
Going into this game on paper, obviously, I thought this was going to be way tighter. But Newcastle looked so focused, so ready, and the crowd, obviously, just the amount of hype that's in that stadium was just incredible. Newcastle used that to its full extent, and they killed Aston Villa. They honestly weren't even in the game, bro. Yeah, they realistically, they weren't. Newcastle, though, when they're on it like that, and we saw it in moments last season, they really are unstoppable, man. They really are. I think last season where they did falter is when they faced basically just United, City, and Arsenal.
Liverpool got their number.
And Liverpool,
they beat them twice.
So, obviously the upper echelon of the Prem, that's when they really struggled to emulate that same type of offensive display. But if they can figure that out this season, then I see them as title contenders. Yeah. I truly do. But obviously it's first game of the season. Maybe Aston Villa were a little creaky. Maybe they got some tactics wrong. So I just need to see Newcastle the next 4 or 5 games. But bro, even
what a start!
What a start! Oh my God, an incredible offensive display, bro. They looked unstoppable.
Yeah, last play that needs to be highlighted, I think, is
Isak, man. What a finish. He's so calm.
So calm. Might be one of my more favorite players to watch in the league, man. Ever since he got inducted into it, I think last year as a signing from Real Sociedad, he's been amazing, man. So efficient, so reliable. His IQ is so good. Sweden has a gem in their hands of a striker in Alexander Isak. And it just showed in that match, his quality, his class, that chip he had over Emi Martinez, knowing that he would fall to the ground in anticipation of a low shot, but instead in motion while being grabbed by the defender, chips it over and scores a beauty of a goal. Gets a brace, I believe, in this match. Almost had a hat trick, I think. Almost had it, yeah. But overall, an impressive game from him. I'm excited to see how he just performs the rest of this season. Newcastle has some weapons, dude. Yeah. They really do, and I want to see them go Oppenheimer in this league and let those weapons go, bro.
It is crazy how good Isak is, though. He reminds me of like a much better version of Kolo Muani, honestly, and a more striker version of Kolo Muani.
I like that.
And his potential is so high, though. If he was a little bit more clinical, just a little bit, I think he would be just as good as Erling Haaland output-wise. He's that close, but I think right now he's just a little bit inefficient in front of goal. As in, he's incredibly crafty, obviously has the skill, but there are some moments where I'm like, oh, he should easily finish that, and he doesn't. That's my only criticism about Isak that's keeping him from being like one of the best forwards in the world.
I think he's above average, but he could enter that into that elite like stage.
He could
like Harry Kane, Erling Haaland. Like, he could get there. He has the talent. He's so young too.
Yeah,
there's still time. Right now he's at that above average stage, and I think if he can just continue progressing because he is at that age, like we could see that end up becoming. He just might be a little bit more of a slow burner in that sense versus like a Haaland who right off the bat was that. And then the last game I saw in full was today's match, Chelsea versus Liverpool.
That's the only game I actually didn't catch, so fill me in. I saw that it ended in 1-1 draw.
Jurgen Kloppenheimer showing up with his squad. You have new additions in Dominique Szoboszlai, Alexis McAllister starting. And then for Chelsea, I mean, you have so many new additions, but this game was tense, man, going into it because there's a lot of, you could say, beef between both these clubs with what fucking happened with Moises Caicedo, bro. You see what happened?
I've been keeping up with just the updates on like where he's going, but I have not looked into the specific dramas behind it.
I've never seen anything like it. I even texted you. I thought Liverpool had Caicedo. It was confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. The photoshops were in. The club was excited. I was excited. And then the next day, Caicedo reveals that his only pick and his only option is Chelsea. No matter what the bid was from Liverpool, he wanted to go to Chelsea. And so Chelsea said, well, I must oblige. And I must offer you $5 million more than what Liverpool offered. So instead of a $110 million offer from Liverpool, he goes to Chelsea for 115 million euros. Essentially just turning his back on Liverpool and just being like, I don't want to play for y'all. I want to play for Chelsea. And so therefore, I'm going to go to them.
Wow.
Crazy, dude. Crazy. Because I texted you, bro. I was excited.
I thought you had him.
I thought I had him. I've just never seen a player be that. I don't know. I thought it was I thought it was done. I thought the deal was done. But only in football transfers does this happen, bro. This could never happen in the fucking NBA. In fucking football transfers, we see some of the craziest dramatic flips of decisions that I've ever seen in my life. And Moises Caicedo ends up being, I think, a record-breaking British fee, 115 million euros to fucking Chelsea.
This makes no sense to me. I'm going to be completely honest. It either is Chelsea are offering better wages, right? Like just week-to-week pay.
I think that is the thing.
Is that what it is?
It's 250 for 9 years. Every week.
Every week?
Every week.
Maybe
I think
Liverpool
that's part
is
of it.
like, what, 200 or something?
Probably a little bit more, yes, frugal.
Yeah. Okay. Because my only other reason would be Chelsea are just more global in, you know, like from a marketing standpoint. So maybe he'd be more inclined to go to Chelsea. But I just don't know why you'd want to go outside of like external factors. Because football-wise, I feel like
Liverpool's a better project,
Liverpool has
man.
a way better project going on, like way better. Or maybe he just doesn't think he'd fit with Klopp, maybe?
But, bro, he'd be working alongside McAllister, who's already been playing with
that's true.
for like the past 3 years.
Yeah, so this... this has to be external, man.
Yeah.
It can't be footballing, because if it's a footballing reason, then Caicedo's not right in the head, bro.
Yeah, and this kind of built up to like that tension into this match between Chelsea and Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. So I was really excited, man. Yeah. I was really excited, and we got delivered, I think, overall a really entertaining match. It ended 1-1, but I have some takes here, man. I think that my first impression of Liverpool was very interesting because Liverpool played like a beautiful woman that's insecure. They played like a beautiful woman that's insecure. Think about that because oftentimes you'll be around a beautiful woman and she has these insecurities, man. She doesn't think she's as beautiful as she actually is. And it can blow your mind because from the outside, you're like, bro, like just accept what you are. You're incredible. Have that confidence. Carry yourself as a woman that's stunning. But it just isn't there sometimes. And Liverpool was the exact version of that on the pitch. I mean, you look at the players they have, Rolls-Royce type of players in nearly every single position, but there was an insecurity across the entire pitch for, I'd say, about 50 minutes that really surprised me. Really? They started off the match incredibly hot, the same way a beautiful woman does on the first date, But then after that, the insecurity started showing. And after those first 20 minutes when Liverpool went up 1-0, they got really shaky. They lacked a lot of confidence when it came to possessing the ball. And instead, they decided to rely on an old tactic of just letting Chelsea come at them and trying to counter. But most of those counters were met with ball recoveries from either Gallagher or Enzo Fernandez. So it just wasn't working for Liverpool for a good 50 minutes of the match.
Damn.
So it was really interesting to see because Chelsea went on to tie the game and, in my opinion, outplayed Liverpool throughout the 90 minutes. Enzo Fernandez put on a goddamn show. Probably the first match I've seen from him in a Chelsea jersey where he really did live up to that $100 million price tag, man.
Dope.
It was so impressive what he did to this Liverpool midfield, how he dominated passages of play, and how he distributed the ball under a lot of pressure. I was so impressed with him, and I really just had to sit back like, damn, okay, I see you, Enzo. I see you. You're proving me wrong here. Incredible match from him. And likewise, Ben Chilwell. The way this dude finds himself in so many important and promising attacks just surprises me, man. Yeah. He is the engine on that left side for Chelsea when it comes to sending balls in or being at the end of a lot of long crosses. He's so heavily involved, emulating what I think Andy Robertson has done for 5 years now with Liverpool. Such similar type of prototypes, man. Players that you would just love to have on your team but hate to play against. And at the very end, I think around when there was like the 80th minute now, Liverpool found a way to get back into the game. Subs were made. They started to dominate the match a little bit more, and they did have opportunities to take the lead. But ultimately, the game ended 1-1 in a tie. So it made for an incredible match, an incredible spectacle, a great first game of the season. But there are concerns for Liverpool, man. It's clear they need a defensive midfielder. And if anything, this match just demonstrated for both sides why the pursuit for Caicedo was so important and so real. And ultimately, Chelsea comes out on top with them getting him and acquiring him to join the squad in the future. So Liverpool needs to find that defensive midfielder to really maximize the weapons that they have. And Chelsea, I think, is going to benefit so much from having Caicedo on the pitch.
Well, so then I was just going to say, that means Liverpool have to get Lavia now. Like, no matter the price, you have to get him.
Yeah,
like, you have to.
That one's interesting. Sounds like Chelsea are favorites to land him as well.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. It's probably shifting as we speak.
It's shifting.
As Caicedo's going to Chelsea, Lavia was, but I was like, oh, okay, then I guess I'm going to Liverpool.
We have to get Lavia. We have to get somebody.
Yeah.
We have to. He's the first option. We have to get somebody though. Yeah. We have to.
McAllister, Szoboszlai, they couldn't move the ball around?
No, that's the thing. They were amazing. I actually feel bad, bro. I feel like we should have paid Brighton more money, man.
Okay.
Dude, McAllister was incredible.
Yeah, he is.
He had essentially a hockey assist in our goal from Mo Salah feeding the ball into Luis Diaz. And Szoboszlai, I think, was the man of the match for Liverpool side.
Oh, nice.
An absolute workhorse. Both of them were incredible. Yeah. They just needed help, bro. And it was Gakpo who was actually assigned as that midfield role to join them, and he was pretty bad. He was pretty bad in that midfield. He just isn't made up. His prototype isn't that.
I've been seeing that Klopp is trying to use him as a midfielder.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, bro.
I didn't like it.
His clear position is in the front line.
Yes.
I don't. Yes. He can't even play attacking mid. Like, he's a forward or like a wide guy who likes to come inside. Like,
dude.
Midfield is not.
He was exhausted by like the 60th minute. Had to get subbed out. Curtis Jones comes in, but we really didn't get to see what the full potential of him, McAllister, and Szoboszlai would look like.
Yeah.
Thiago isn't match fit, surprisingly.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. It's clear, bro. We need a defensive midfielder, and I just hope that they seek that on the market.
The two Premier League games that I caught in full were the champions and runners-up. Manchester City, their game, and then Arsenal in their game. Both of them were very, very similar in the sense that it was pretty much just one team and then a feisty little competition. Manchester City faced Burnley, who were basically the Manchester City, the championship last year. They only lost 3 times.
Crazy.
That's crazy. And there's not much to say in this game other than Manchester City dominated pretty much the entire match. And it's not to say that Burnley did poorly, because they really didn't. They had themselves a decent game. And there were some good players because they actually had a lot of signings. I
was wondering who stood out to you.
Yeah, there were some good moments from Koleosho that they got from Espanyol. Luka Koleosho, I actually think has some American blood in him as well, so that could be useful in the future. But he had some really good dribble penetration. And then The one that I'm not surprised about, and I forgot to highlight him in our transfer video, Zeki Amdouni, the Swiss player who stood out for Basel in their crazy run in the Conference League last year. For me, their standout solar player was actually Zeki Amdouni. Incredibly tenacious and absolutely relentless with his runs. At least he was last year with Basel. The exact same thing here against Manchester City, bro. Constantly just riding that back line, making as many runs as he can. And when he gets the ball, dude, fearless. Absolutely fearless. He doesn't require a lot of space either, which is, really important, especially in a tight league like the Prem. And he was able to use his skill to full potential, bro. Like, he has not missed a beat since leaving Basel. So a really good signing from Burnley, man, because not that he's going to, I think, score a lot of goals, because I don't think he's going to have the service, to be honest. But the fact that you have a guy like this who can kind of thrive without having service, I think is a really good signing. It's just really good business from Burnley because Amdouni himself can just get the ball and go. So I don't think he'll score a lot of goals for Burnley, but I think he's just a great acquisition because, dude, he's relentless, bro. Absolutely relentless.
Promoted, that has to be then one of the better signings from a promoted side then.
I think, 100%, bro. Like, he was immediately a standout for me. He played a good 60 minutes, and I thought he did great. Good. Yeah, but Manchester City never really got stretched. Honestly, they were pretty comfortable the entire match. I wasn't expecting anything other than that, to be completely honest. Haaland got himself 2 goals to start the season. It is what it is. Burnley weren't ready for it, but Manchester City looked really good. The other game that I saw, Arsenal against Nottingham Forest, this one actually at Arsenal, it was very similar. Even though it ended 2-1, a little tighter, Arsenal dominated this game, man. Absolutely dominated it. What was really interesting, though, is that Mikel Arteta put Thomas Partey as a right back.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that one.
It was he was a right back, but he went into the midfield a lot. Kind of like how Rico Lewis did at times for Manchester City last season when he played like an inverted wing back midfield position. It was actually pretty similar for Partey. He would take up a right back position, but once Arsenal enjoyed a lot of possession, Partey would just get slowly more involved in the midfield.
That's becoming a regular for top teams, man. Trent Alexander-Arnold does the same thing.
Oh, he did it for Liverpool?
And he goes into the midfield. Rico Lewis, Manchester City. Yeah. It's just the norm now, man.
Yeah,
you got to be a hybrid to be normal.
Yeah, you got to be useful as hell, bro. Out on that pitch, man.
If you do one thing, you're fucking out. You see that Kieran Tierney is he's rumored to leave Arsenal now because they're not going to use him. And it's crazy because he just does one thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we already talked about the signing of Timber being a utility type of player in that back line. He had a really solid game as well. Declan Rice had a really solid game, but wasn't really required to do much. It's really on the defensive end. Honestly, Nottingham looked like this was their first game of the season. They had moments, but that was honestly it. They really couldn't hold on to the ball. They could not get into Arsenal's box whatsoever. They ended up getting a goal late into the game through Awani. But other than that, man, Nottingham just looked a little slow. I'm not worried about them because I think this was the same thing last year. They're just going to have to slowly get back to the pace of the league, and then they'll start getting some results against, similar caliber teams. But Arsenal looked very, very good. Honestly, not much to get out of both games because that's just how it was. They were facing against much lower quality sides.
That Martinelli assist.
It was accidental.
You think it was accidental?
It was accidental because I think he was trying to turn the defender, but instead he actually just healed it.
He think healed so?
It. Yeah. 100%.
I'm just checking. I'm checking. I know some people would say the opposite.
There's no way that was intentional.
Crazy.
It'd be one of the craziest assists ever. Like ever, bro. Because he span and then healed it without looking.
But the only way he could have gotten the ball to him was by doing that in that position. That's why I could see it being intentional.
It was hella clean. It was crazy clean, bro.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. And then Bukayo Saka trying to throw his hat into the ring here at the give and go with the best right winger in Premier League right now. Mm-hmm. I said before it's Mo Salah. You said Bukayo Saka in that preview. Yeah. Scoring a hell of a goal in that fucking game, man, to make it 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, crazy goal. But yeah, I really do think he's one of the most efficient wingers in the Prem, bro. Like he's a goal scorer.
Look at Salah's assist today. Go look at it.
I'll go look at it for sure.
I just love that battle though. It's actually hella competitive when you look at it just 1-1. But yeah, and then the last thing I want to mention from that game is Matty Turner playing against his old team right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Actually pretty crazy. I thought he had a solid game. He had a nervy moment one time when he was trying to clear it.
Yeah.
Trying to clear the ball from the back. Ended up getting deflected. But I feel like that happens to every keeper. I'm not worried by it. I just hope Turner ends up being the number one for Nottingham, because I think that could just be really great for his career and honestly really, really good for the men's national team. Because if we have Turner playing every single week in the best league in the world, bro, that's just going to help our chances like crazy from a U.S. men's national team perspective, man. But yeah, Arsenal, Man City off to a really good start, but nothing short of what was expected of them, considering that they played against two, let's just say, weaker teams in the Prem.
Arsenal, Manchester City. We talked about Newcastle. We talked about Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I mean, these are some of the top teams in the league. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, the main takeaway from the weekend is we are set to have an insane year in the Prem. And these top teams are looking really, really intriguing, fun, and competitive, bro.
So I then went to Spain and did the exact same thing. I saw last season's champions and runners-up play in their respective games. Barcelona and Madrid. I'll start with the Madrid game against Athletic. They went to the San Mamés in what was a really awesome pregame crowd, bro.
Really?
Everyone was there.
They always have a good crowd,
dude, always, though. So I was like, oh, okay, perfect. Like,
yes.
I knew what I was going to get into, and it delivered. Because that crowd at the Catedral in Bilbao, amazing, bro. Always such a pretty crowd, man. Everyone's just there. It really does feel like a local town type of vibe, but it's just a really big stadium, too. So you get like a crazy, crazy atmosphere. And Madrid dominated.
Really?
Killed them.
Dude, Athletic, they don't look good this year or what? What's going on? I usually like their teams.
Here's my take. I have a whole take on Athletic, bro. Because my ultimate take is Athletic Bilbao have taken the pillars of football, the cultural and sociological pillars of football. They've taken it a step too far, essentially.
I don't even know what that means.
Let me explain. It'll make sense. So if you consider the sociological pillars of football to be tribalism, tradition, and like local town energy, they've taken it all that a step too far by only signing Basque players. And this is no surprise if you know who Athletic are, right? They're like the Chivas of Spain, but a step even further in the sense that they can only play Spanish players, but more specifically, players that were born or raised in their Basque region of Spain.
Wait,
right?
Really?
Yes.
Wait, dude, I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
What? Are they the only team in Spain that does that?
They're the only team, like, I think in the world that is that specific in the players that they can play. Yeah.
What?
Uh-huh.
Holy shit.
Right. So this is crazy.
This is crazy. This is news to me.
This is nuts because it's incredibly limiting over large amounts of time. Because when you look at Athletic, the only way that they can be successful is just in small moments, small slivers of time. Because they're completely relying on the skill level of their town throughout time.
Jesus Christ.
That's it. So if you have a really good team in 2014, that's going to last max 2-3 years. And then those players are going to start aging. And then you have to rely and hope that your next 19-year-old is just as good because you can't really get anybody else. And it's funny because when the lineups came up, there's this guy named Gomez. And I was like, oh, that's a new player. Because their pool of players that they've had over the last 10 years is so small. It's so easy to pick out when there's a new face in the
he's probably the
side.
kid of another Gomez that played 20 years ago, bro. We got the Williams brothers there too.
Yeah, right,
it's just familial at this point, man.
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, bro. It's crazy. And what I realized is I was like, oh,
that's crazy. When
I started watching football, I saw the moment in time that Athletic had a really good team. Because, dude, I mean, looking back at that squad, they had Iraisos, their goalkeeper, Iraola, who's now actually the coach of Bournemouth, which is actually kind of pretty cool. But then they had some really good midfielders.
Aduriz, no?
Yeah, well, Aduriz was a really good striker. Ander Herrera, if you remember him. Susaeta, Markel Susaeta, I forget his first name. But they had some really good players over there. Fernando Llorente, Javi Martinez, who would eventually go to Bayern Munich.
Was Munyain there?
And a young Iker Muniain. They had a really good team 10 years ago. And that's when I witnessed them for the first time. So I had always had the idea in my head that, Athletic are a good club. cut to like 2017, 2018, they start flirting with relegation, man.
Yeah.
And they eventually survive. But you look at their past couple seasons, it's like 8th, 10th. They were 16th in 2019 or 2018. They were 8th last season too. And I'm just like, damn, like, okay, this is actually the reality of a team like Athletic, because you can only be successful with such a small talent pool of players for so long. And then eventually Father Time will come in and be like, all right, you guys have a bad crop of players now. This is the reality. What's crazy is that the fact that they've still been able to produce players like Javi Martinez or Ander Herrera, or you could look at the Williams brothers right now. I think both Iñaki and Nico are excellent footballers, really good players, and can play at pretty much any team in Spain. They're really, really good players, absolutely. But it's just when you're relying on an entire team to be just as good, man, it's like, that's tough. And so tough. What's crazy is the ultimate takeaway that I had is you just have to have acceptance if you're an Athletic fan. You have to have an acceptance of that, knowing that, like, oh, we can't buy players. That's not an option for you. It's just academy, or there's a Spanish player that decided not to ply his young, youthful career in the Basque region and, went to Madrid or something. And then maybe you could get him on a transfer to come back to the region. But that's it. So if you're a true fan of Athletic, you have to have a really intimate understanding of that. And I think the fact that they're even in the first division in the first place, that in and of itself is like a gift. Yeah. The fact that if you're Athletic and if you're an Athletic fan and you live in Bilbao and you get to see La Liga games every season, that's dope. Yeah. Honestly, that's crazy that you have that expectation and that reality. Because I'm sure if any other team tried to employ that type of same strictness as far as the players that they get, man, like, you'd be in the second, third division, you know?
Why is it the Basque region specifically, though? Why didn't Madrid get handed that, like Madrid the capital, or even Barcelona, which I know has a big population? Why not them? Why is it?
Yeah, dude, I think just from what I saw, like just the quick research that I did, I remember looking at this a couple years ago when I found out about the rule, is at the time Madrid were already Madrid, like they were Real Madrid. Yeah, exactly. So when a big team came out from Bilbao, they were like, we're not Madrid, we're not associated to the capital, we are Basque, and so we want to really represent the region. And back to my initial point, I just think they took it a step too far.
Yeah, man, I think it makes sense. It makes sense why their fans are known for being so passionate. I didn't watch the game. I didn't even watch highlights from it. But I saw a photo. Of Wonder Boy, Jude Bellingham, celebrating with his arms out. And the number of middle fingers I saw pointed at him in that photo, bro. Ridiculous. More middle fingers than people not giving middle fingers.
Oh, okay.
Incredible passion. Incredible feistiness. These Athletic Bilbao fans are aware of what's going on within the team, why they are the way they are. But this is like this is like a spiritual moment for them. Every time they go and visit a game for them, they let it all out. They must feel so well represented, knowing that they're the only Basque team in the entire nation, and the fact that they're in La Liga and they're actually a good club in that sense. Because even a team like Mallorca doesn't achieve that high of placement like Athletic Bilbao. So it's really impressive. It makes sense to me now why these Athletic Bilbao fans are the way that they are. It's insane. But on the other page, man, like, my boy Jude.
Yeah. He ended up having a crazy goal, honestly. I don't know if you saw the highlight.
I haven't. I just saw the tablets. I saw the tablets.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw it in the paper. No, he ended up scoring a crazy goal. It was a bit fortunate, but nonetheless still kind of crazy. Okay. It was like a weird, like, bouncing. It, like, he hit it off the ground, and it, like, floated over the top of the keeper, like, into, like, right underneath the bar. It was a crazy shot. Crazy goal.
What'd you make of their Real Madrid's attack? That's what I've always been finding most interesting. Yeah. It's just Vinny, Rodrigo up top, and then Jude almost behind them as an attacking midfielder, almost secondary option up front.
Yeah, absolutely deadly, but I think it's because of how good Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo are, bro. Like,
so
they're phenomenal, man. Okay. Their movement is ridiculous, and obviously we already know how good they are on the ball, man. Like, the ball is second nature to them when they touch it. It's literally an extension of them, and you see it in full effect when they go on offense, man. Like, Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr., I think Madrid are in good hands when it comes to that offense. That being said, though, they are going to miss a player like Benzema.
Yeah, or even just a 9.
They're going to miss him.
Okay, that's where I'm at. I just don't understand how they are going to commit to this like long term.
Yeah, so essentially Champions League, count them out. They can't win the title, Champions League title without a number 9, even knowing that Vinicius and Rodrigo are really good. And even La Liga, man, I wouldn't be so sure, but then again, Barcelona...
It's just Barca, I think.
It's just Barca, and so it's like, well, maybe they could, because Barcelona, while they did have a really good season last year, I don't see them as an elite team like I do City, or honestly, like maybe I see Bayern. So I think the league is definitely winnable for Madrid, even without Benzema. But like, if you want to dominate the league like you're used to, if you want to go far in the Champions League, it's not going to happen this season. It's not going to happen.
It's been a really interesting week for Real Madrid fans. Courtois out with an ACL.
Dude.
Right? I'm just getting started, bro.
The worst thing that can happen if you're an athlete, bro, tearing your ACL.
I have 4 of these I'm going to go through. The first one, Courtois getting an ACL injury. Militao has been diagnosed with an ACL injury as well.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
Arda Güler is out for a couple months, I think, dealing with a meniscus. And Kylian Mbappe has now assigned his, I guess, loyalty back to PSG. He will not be joining Madrid from what it looks like this season. So
yeah,
that was kind of their shining light, their hope that he would join them and fill in that 9 role for them. But without him, then what do you do? And without those 2 really important starting players for them now out with ACL injuries, I think it's already starting a little grim for Real Madrid, even though they have some incredible names and they have still what I think the best midfield in the entire world. Their options are insane beyond the midfield, in the defense and in the offense. I think they were missing a few pieces, and I think that's going to show throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because I see it the exact same way. I think this season is going to be very experimental for Madrid, but in a very positive way, because you get to see players like Jude Bellingham immediately start in his first game and go off.
Yep.
But then beyond that, Camavinga was in the midfield, Tchouaméni was in the midfield.
Crazy.
Both Modric and Kroos started on the bench.
Crazy.
And I think that's just the sign of the times, because they're old.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's a very natural transition, I think, because they're still there and they'll still play those. They came on in the second half, so it's not like they're just, completely gone. So I think what Madrid are doing is actually really positive, because I think they're handling the aging of their players very well and trying to naturally replace them with very young players of the same caliber. So I like what Madrid are doing. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to do anything big this year.
Do they win silverware this year? Like even just one cup? Because it's always weird when Real Madrid doesn't, dude. It's always really weird when they don't. Even last year they had the Copa del Rey to show for it, right?
I think they could win Copa del Rey. They seem to always get to the semis.
Atletico could maybe snag it, man.
Atletico are terrible in Copa del Reys, bro. We suck at
I
them.
looked at that today for some reason.
We don't do well.
You won one in 2012, I think,
That's it.
and then that was kind of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't take that cup. You don't take that shitty cup seriously. Whether Madrid can actually win La Liga, I do think that they can. It's just going to be completely up to Barca. It's completely up to them to see who wins La Liga this year. I really do think so. If Barcelona emulate what they were able to do last year, play good free-flowing football, somehow have the best defense in Spain by a long shot, if they can do that, then I think they will win it again. But based off of what I saw today, bro, not looking good. But then again, it is just the first game of the season. It's very hard to have,
Getafe away is tough.
Getafe away is tough. And actually the second game that I watched in Spain, and bro, the game was pure violence, man. This was crazy.
I heard something about red cards, dude.
Rafinha threw an elbow straight to a head of a player, bro. It was not pretty. Straight red, and Rafinha was like, yeah. He was like, I know, yeah. He's like, yeah, I got a red. Like,
were the calls fair, though? Because someone DM'd me and was like, I hear you I heard you say European reffing is better than Leagues Cup. Look at the Barca match as an example of a controversial European match.
There was no controversy. It was just poorly handled by the ref. So all of the calls were fouls.
Yeah.
All of the cards were warranted. For example, the red was completely a red. All of the yellows that were dished out were all yellows. There was no penalty calls that I think that could have been called. Although if you're a Barca fan, you will say that call at the very end of the game should have been a penalty.
Like a handball or something?
It ended up being a handball to Gavi. But even then, it was a little weird. It was a weird handball. But for me, the way that the game was officiated up until that point, I think a no penalty call was actually the right call. I really do think so. But if you just see that one play and you don't look at any of the moments that the way the game was officiated, then I think you might say it was controversial. But bro, like the game itself was just so chippy, so aggressive. I think the game was officiated correctly from like a call point of view, but the referee definitely could have done better at handling it, managing it. He was very poor in that sense because he let the game boil up to an elbow. He could have avoided that by dishing out more yellows, actually. So it was it's actually why I praise Europe, why people are calling it out. The referee is way too lenient. But I actually prefer leniency over calling cheap pens. I prefer that because for me, the natural way the game should be played is let's get physical, baby. And let's not you out. No, I don't know if I can use that shit. Let's not. I
think you can. No, you can use that, bro.
No, that's isn't that over the line a little bit? A little bit, bro.
We'll bleep it out. I'll bleep it. Let me do a bleep. I've been wanting to do a bleep for a long time. People will wonder what you said. Fucking foul, man. Dirty ass mouth.
Let's not out and call penalties like it's nothing, like they do in Mexico, like they do in the MLS.
Ghost fouls, bro.
So for me, what I saw in Barcelona Getafe, I actually prefer because, bro, the game was just back and forth in that regard. I prefer it that way. Now, I think the referee did very, very poor in managing it. I've already said that. He could have done a lot better, but controversy? None of it. There was no controversy in the game. As for Barcelona and the way that they played, they approached it the way that they had to. It was just 2 blocks of 5 for Getafe, man, and they're like, come at us. Barcelona tried to. The game was incredibly difficult from that regard because one thing I'll give Getafe is that they were so committed to making the entire game hell. They were so committed to it. I honestly applauded them because, like, damn, like every single player that is out there for Getafe don't really care how they're playing football-wise, but they're going to put a body on a Barcelona player, and they did every single time. Damian Suarez, the Uruguayan, went off with the amount of theatrics that he was able to pull, like the amount of just like little shoves, little nudges.
Is he related to Luis Suarez, bro?
He's definitely Uruguayan, bro. Definitely Uruguayan. Ronald Araujo, also Uruguayan, also implemented some theatrical takes, man. Like, holy shit. This game was crazy from that point of view, bro. Football-wise, terrible. This game was not good to watch. Really was not good to watch. And Gundogan.
What's the report, man? I saw a picture of him on the goddamn ground, barely breathing.
Damian Suarez.
Shit.
Yeah, a dirty move from Suarez. But it wasn't dirty enough to like get a red or anything. He did it so well. I'll give truly a master of the dark arts. I don't like it because I always feel like you have to back up physicality with good ball play. But if it's just physicality, I don't like that aspect of football, and that's what Getafe employed. But anyway, I'm a little scared for Gundogan for Barcelona now that I think about it, because when Griezmann got signed by Barcelona, I actually thought it was a match made in heaven, because Griezmann at Atletico was fluid. He was crafty. He was full of flair. And I thought, oh, well, that's how Barcelona play. It's 1-2 touch football. It's, let's have some fun on the ball. Go to Barcelona, and Griezmann had a terrible time because he couldn't fit into the system. Mainly because the coach at the time was confused on where to play Griezmann. They were like, oh, let's have you as a winger. Oh, let's have you as the number 9. But in reality, Griezmann's best position was like a creative midfielder, what he did for Atletico. Gundogan started in the front line for Barcelona in a weird like offensive position. But, at Manchester City, he was definitely a midfielder at heart. Purely, obviously, very offensive. But Gundogan can play deep.
Yeah.
And he can thrive in a box-to-box position where he's on the ball a lot and distributing and running into the box. His position was not that in this game against Getafe. It was very much so, we see you as an attacking threat, and that's it. So let's have you in a very advanced position so you can work that area of the pitch. But I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if that's where you should put him, bro.
I think Barca has a history of misusing players, man.
That's what I'm getting to. As that, now that I really think about it, skill-wise, Gundogan is perfect for Barcelona, but are they really going to use him right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they will. It's the first game of the season. There's a lot left of the season to be played out, and Gundogan is world class, bro. Maybe he just figures it out on his own, but I won't be surprised come like November, December, and we just don't really see the same Gundogan that we saw at City. I just won't be surprised simply because of the clash of styles that Barcelona and Gundogan might have separately.
But that also shows the disparity that a genius coach like Pep Guardiola has on an amateur coach like Xavi too. You know,
oh, very true.
Pep is known for bringing out the best in players, and then once he ships them off, they never really reach the heights they reach under his tutelage. This might be a case of that, and ultimately, I would hate to see that because I thought that going into this transfer decision for Barca to pull him in, I thought it was a match made in heaven too, like that Griezmann signing, because they need a player like that. They need a player that's reliable in the midfield, just as they did with Sergio Busquets, who now isn't a part of the club. So the fact that they put him in a really offensive role is scary, man. I'm going to have to check in on a Barcelona game to kind of give my own diagnostics.
Yeah, you should.
But the report you're giving me is not a good one right off the bat, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, if anything, it ended 0-0. I will say Barcelona deserved to win it. So in my eyes, you know, they played very well and enough to deserve the 3 points. Unfortunately, they didn't get it. But the overall taste in my mouth is, you know, if you're Barcelona, I'd be just a little worried, especially considering that Madrid, you know, might not have Benzema, but they look confident at the very least. Whereas Barcelona looked a little labored today. It's super early, so I'm not saying anything definitive, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see who bests the other when it comes to Madrid-Barcelona this season.